Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today we'll be finishing off the last few members introduced under the Taney Court. So let's go ahead and hop into this. We will no longer be using Britannica because apparently you have to subscribe, or else it only offers you so many free uses. So we're not going to be using it as a source anymore. First one we want to look at is Noah Haynes Swain. He's from Ohio, and he was the replacement for McLean, John McLean, not Hard. I think I've already made that joke already, but still. Noah Haynes Swain, and he was the first appointed to the Supreme Court by Abraham Lincoln. He served for 18 years and 363 days from January 27th, 1862 to January the 24th, 1881, at which point he did retire. So let's take a little further little further look at Noah Haynes Swain. He was born December the 7th, 1804, in Frederick County, Virginia, and died June the 8th, 1884, in New York City, New York. While serving as a Supreme Court Justice, he served as the 7th Circuit Court Judge, then moved to be the 6th Circuit Court Judge, and finished off being the 5th Circuit Court Judge. Education appears to be that he read law 1823, and before becoming a member of the Supreme Court, he had a private practice in Coshocton, Ohio from 1824 to 1830. He was the prosecutor of Coshocton County, Ohio, 1826. Then was a state representative for Ohio, 1830 to 1836, becoming the U.S. Attorney for the District of Ohio, 1830 to 1839, before opening a private practice in Columbus, Ohio, 1839 to 1862, and finally being appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, let's see if we can dig a little deeper into Noah Haynes Swain as far as his personal life here. According to Ballotpedia, he was one of 5 justices nominated to the Supreme Court by President Lincoln. So he served under the Taney Court, the Chase Court, and the Waite Court. Of course, right now we're just talking about the Taney Court members. And he didn't really have a party affiliation, according to Ballotpedia.org. Look at oyez.org. Swain left his native Virginia at the age of 19 because he was hostile to slavery and settled in Ohio, and later served there in the state legislature. So it was actually Justice John McLean himself who suggested that Lincoln appointed Swain as his successor. And when McLean died, Swain mustered support for the appointment to his friend's position. He wrote few major opinions and served as an extra votes in important majority and dissenting opinions articulated by others, and he stayed well beyond his time. He deteriorated mentally and physically while still on the bench. Yeah, Noah Swain. Noah Haynes Swain. The next person we're going to look at is Samuel Freeman Miller. He was from Iowa, and he replaced Peter Vivian Daniel. He was appointed by Abraham Lincoln, and he served 28 years and 84 days, from July the 21st, 1862, to October the 13th, 1890, at which point he did die as a Supreme Court justice. He was born April 5th, 1816 in Richmond, Kentucky, and died April 13th, 1890 in Washington, D.C. And this is all from FAC.gov. While serving on the Supreme Court, he served the Ninth Circuit and then switched to serve the Eighth Circuit Court. And his education was that he graduated with a master's degree in 1838 from Transylvania University, and then read law in 1847. His career before becoming a U.S. Supreme Court member was that he was Justice of the Peace and member of the County Court in Barberville, Kentucky. And then he had a private practice in Barberville, Kentucky, 1847 to 1850, and then private practice in Keokuk, Iowa, 1850 to 1862. Let's see what else we have about Samuel Freeman Miller. He served the Taney Court, the Chase Court, the Wake Court, and the Fuller Court. And he was also considered nonpartisan. And let's look at oyez.org. Samuel Freeman Miller was born and raised in Kentucky and trained as a physician. He studied law and passed the Kentucky bar examination in 1847. Miller held that the view that slavery should be abolished, albeit gradually. He elected to free his own slaves and move to Iowa rather than submit to stronger slavery opposition imposed by his home state of Kentucky. One thing you do have to remember, Kentucky was technically considered a South state, but during the Civil War it becomes one of the border states that doesn't really secede. So it's a kind of an interesting mix here. Miller was very active in the formation of the Iowa Republican Party. During his service on the court, Miller participated in more than 5,000 cases and spoke for the court in nearly 100 constitutional decisions, and set a record for his time for the most constitutional decisions authored by a single justice. So Samuel Freeman Miller. Let's look at the next person we want to talk about. They are David Davis. They are from Illinois, and they replaced Campbell. I want to say it's Archibald Campbell. Yeah, John Archibald Campbell. And he was appointed by Abraham Lincoln and served 14 years and 84 days, serving from December the 10th, 1862 to March the 4th, 1877. So let's get a closer look at David Davis. He was born, and this is according to fjc.gov, he was born March the 9th, 1815 in Cecil County, Maryland, and died June the 26th, 1886 in Bloomington, Illinois. While on the Supreme Court, he also served as a justice for the 8th Circuit and then the 7th Circuit Court. Education is that he got an AB from Kenyon College in 1832, read law in 1834, and it just says New Haven Law School, now Yale Law School. It don't give me a date or what he graduated with. His professional career before he became a Supreme Court justice was that he had a private practice in Pekin, Illinois, 1835 to 1836, then a private practice in Bloomington, Illinois, 1836 to 1848, then was a state representative from Illinois, 1844 to 1846, a delegate to the Illinois Constitutional Convention in 1847, a judge on the Illinois Circuit Court, the 8th Judicial Circuit, 1848 to 1862, and then was nominated to the U.S. Supreme Court. But after leaving the Supreme Court, he served as U.S. Senator from Illinois, 1877 to 1883. And he actually did resign from the court. Let's take a closer look at David Davis to see what we can find out. So ballotpedia.org. He resigned on March the 4th, 1877. Let's look at oyez.org. He was born in Maryland, but moved west to make his mark as a lawyer and settled in Bloomington, Illinois. He ran for the Senate as a Whig, but lost, and then ran for a seat in the State House of Representatives and won. And while in Springfield, he met Abraham Lincoln. He served on the Illinois Constitutional Convention, and his most significant act was installing a system of popularly elected judges to replace a system based on legislative election. Davis was elected judge under his new system, a position he held until he was appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court. Both Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas practiced before Judge Davis. So while he was a judge, both Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas actually practiced before him, which there's a number of debates that are very famous called the Lincoln-Douglas debates. Check them out. I'll try to list a copy of the source in the description here. Davis then served as Lincoln's campaign manager in 1860, helping him secure the Republican presidential nomination. Lincoln then nominated Davis to the court, but Davis retained his appetite for bipartisan politics. And so while on the bench, he was nominated for president by the Labor Reform Party. Davis sought to employ this nomination to gather support for his candidacy from the liberal Republicans who, like Davis, were opposed to Ulysses S. Grant as a candidate. Davis did not really enjoy his work on the court. He actually found the appellate bench disagreeable for the hard study and labor it required. Davis tired of the court and was elected to the Senate by the Illinois legislature in 1877. One commentator remarked of Davis's career on the court, Davis wrote nothing but that stirring and ultimately disappointing opinion against military trials in Ex parte Milligan. It is surprising only that it took him so long to discover that he would really be better off in the Senate. And he would serve one term in the Senate before retiring to public life. So yeah, David Davis. Let's look at the last person we want to talk about, which is Stephen Johnson Field. And he was from California, and he filled a new seat. So you got to remember, California was a relatively new state. It was 1840s that the Mexican-American War ended, and land was ceded to the U.S. that covered California and Texas and all these. So, yeah, he was from a fairly new area. He was also appointed by Abraham Lincoln, and would serve 34 years, 205 days, from May the 10th, 1863 to December the 1st, 1897, at which point he retired. Let's take a look at FJC to get a little bit of information on him. Stephen Johnson Field. He was born November the 4th, 1816, in Haddam, Connecticut, and died April the 9th, 1899, in Washington, D.C. While on the Supreme Court, he served the 10th Circuit Court, then the 9th Circuit Court, and finishing with the 2nd Circuit Court. Education says that he got a bachelor's degree from Williams College in 1837 and read law in 1841. His career before becoming a Supreme Court justice was that he was a private practice in New York City, 1841 to 1848. Then became a private practice lawyer in San Francisco, California, 1850. Then became a private practice lawyer in Marysville, California, 1850 to 1857. Also, when he first got to Marysville, he was alcalde in just 1850, which is kind of like a mayor executive position holding thing. It's a holdover from the old Spanish government and the old Mexican government in California. So then he was state assemblyman of California, 1850 to 1851, and then was a justice of the Supreme Court of California, 1857 to 1863, of which he was Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of California, 1859 to 1863. Also, he was nominated to U.S. Circuit Court for the Districts of California, February 25th to 1863, but like we mentioned, he actually served on the U.S. Supreme Court on May the 10th, 1863. So even though he was nominated to the California Circuit Courts, it wasn't long until he was nominated on the U.S. Supreme Court. So let's look at Ballotpedia about Stephen Johnson Field. He served the Taney Court, the Chase Court, the Waite Court, and the Fuller Court. Now let's take a look at oyez.org. Stephen Johnson Field was born and raised in Connecticut, attended Williams College, and then read law. His family was remarkably accomplished. His three older brothers, the first, David Dudley Field, was a New York lawyer and politician. The second, Cyrus W. Field, promoted the first telegraph cable under the Atlantic Ocean. And the third, Henry M. Field, was a leading clergyman and author. Field's nephew, David Brewer, was a Supreme Court justice. And he and Field even served together during Field's last 7 years on the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court bench. And Field's niece, Anita Whitney, was a litigant in a significant free speech case decided by the court in 1927. Field moved to California, where he was elected as a Democrat to state legislature office and later to the Supreme Court. He was nominated by Abraham Lincoln in 1863 to fill a newly created 10th seat on the Supreme Court. His appointment as a Democrat was based on his staunch support of the Union cause. So essentially, Lincoln appointed him to try to say, I want this country to come together, even though Lincoln was Republican. Field wanted to be a Chief Justice, but that was not meant to be. He remained on the court well after his faculties started to wane. So yeah, that's all they have on Stephen J. Field. But that's all the members of the Supreme Court that were appointed under Taney. Next video on the Supreme Court, we'll be talking about Supreme Court cases. But as always, I will have the sources in the description below the video. As always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tries to tell you something that you find hard to believe, ask them to cite their sources. I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, later.